All right, Shalom. I'd like to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekha HaKodash. Double honors unto our elders and apostles, the great millstone. Peace, love, and salutations unto the Lord's elect, the hopeful, elect in the one-third, the household of faith, who in these times have been predestined through the grace and mercy of the power, all right, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekha HaKodash. All right. And double honors to our elders and apostles, a great millstone, all right, who taught us this 100% truth, okay? This lesson is inspired by a few events taking place, all right? You had Trump, who recently increased the military budget from 1 trillion to 1.5 trillion, all right? You also have him going against the defense contractors, all right, basically saying stop paying dividends, stop giving these exorbitant salaries and so much more, because ultimately military equipment is not being made fast enough. See? And fast enough for what? Well, the third woe. All right. We, starting with our elders and apostles, a great millstone. All right. We, who consist of so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, all right, in the diaspora. All right, those of you scattered throughout the world, whose seed of your father goes back to an Israelite man, thus making you an Israelite man, woman, and child. All right, we have been commanded, all right, to ultimately repent and return back to our power. All right, everyone has a biblical identity. All right, and beginning with our elders and apostles, a great millstone, and really preceding them, the elder Abba Bivens, all right, and King Masha, which elder Abba Bivens, all right, was prophesied in Malachi, the 4th chapter. All right, Elijah coming back. All right, before that great and dreadful day. All right, and we, Lord's will, having the spirits of the prophets. All right, because the spirits of the prophets are subject unto the prophets. All right, we have continued to be watchmen. All right, and do so even to this very day. All right, and we can see clearly how these things are linking up with the scriptures. Okay, Revelation 11:14, it reads, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. All right, and that's why he made mention, weapons are not being made fast enough. All right, you see how quickly he took over Venezuela. All right, and, there's plenty of videos, going into that. All right, basically saying that they're going to control Venezuela. All right, let me see if I have one here. Here we go.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Taking out a dictator in
All right, fair use. All right, this is under fair use.
Venezuela. How does that help the average American?
Well, a few things, Jesse. First of all, what it means is we're going to be able to control the incredible natural resources of Venezuela, which is good for America in a few ways. Number one, it allows us to put leverage on our enemies. Number two, it makes sure that if Americans need high quality, low cost power, we're always going to have access.
All right, and there you go, getting into that oil. All right, I'm not going to play all of it. Okay, you get the point.
When it's Donald Trump, all these Democrats go bonkers.
Is the Cuban government the Trump administration's next target, Mr. Secretary? Very quickly.
Well, the Cuban government is a huge problem. Yeah, the Cuban government is a huge problem. First
So
of all,
is that a
people in
yes?
Cuba, but I don't think people fully appreciate. I think they're in a lot of trouble. Yes, I'm not going to talk to you about what our future steps are going to be in our policy.
All right, so there you go. All right, along with the statements that they have made about the Western Hemisphere. All right, and then you recently had Venezuela will buy U.S. products. All right, because basically they strong-armed them to stop doing business. All right, here we go. Trump announces deal. All right, I've just been informed that Venezuela is going to be purchasing only American-made products with the money they receive from our new oil deal. See, so you go and you go and kidnap their head of state, all right, force them into submission, and then say, oh, we're going to make a new deal together. You see, these people are devils, man. These purchases will include, among other things, American agricultural products and American-made medicines, medical devices, and equipment to improve Venezuela's electric grid and energy facilities. In other words, Venezuela is committing to doing business with the United States of America as their principal partner. A wise choice and a very good thing for the people of Venezuela and the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right, and this came all right, after Trump said, all right, to stop doing business with stop doing business with China. All right. Let me see. Lord's Will pulls up. Okay, let's do latest. Yep, here it is. Okay. So the Trump administration told Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, that the country must cut ties with China, Iran, Russia, and Cuba and agree to partner exclusively with the U.S. on oil production. See? So now they're cutting ties. Now they're like, all right, we're just going to buy from you. Okay. But hey, you haven't even seen China, Russia, or Cuba's response yet. Okay. Then you have Cuban plane turns around. All right, you had the Cuban presidential plane, which was headed to Caracas not too long ago. All right, and it basically did a U-turn. All right, it reads very strange. Cuban presidential plane en route to Caracas returned mid-flight. Likely wasn't allowed to enter Venezuelan airspace. U.S. threats, absolutely. All right, and that's the thing, bro. You know, this place was meant to be destroyed. You know, this place was meant, you know, in its pride, in its witchcraft, and everything that it has puffed up. All right, it was meant to show this force. All right, it's prophesied, man. Okay, that they who would not worship the beast, all right, and who can go to war, all right, with her. So now they're just letting the horn show, all right, you know, consistently. All right, it's no longer you know, the policy, the democracy nonsense. No, they're just like, hey, we run this, all right? Enough is enough, okay? You people don't think that we run this, so now we're going to show you, all right? And so ultimately, all right, they then already said, you know, Cuba, you're next, you know, for you South American countries down there, Colombia, they threaten, and a few others, all right, what they say, stop doing business with China and Russia, all right? Because ultimately, they see what's going on, man, and now they have to try to catch up, okay? And that's just the fatness of this place. It had nothing to do with Joe Biden, okay? These things were prophecy and were meant to happen, all right? So let's get this, the military budget. It reads, after long and difficult negotiations with senators, congressmen, secretaries, and other political representatives, I have determined that for the good of our country, which is destined to be destroyed, all right, especially in these very troubled and dangerous times, see? All right, so even they know these are troubling and dangerous times, man. All right, because the whore, the well-favored harlot, all right, Mystery Babylon, all right, is ultimately this place is through, man. Okay, let's grab that. What's that? Rev 17. All right, Rev 17. Okay, and verse 5, and upon her, well, we have to start up, all right. Verse 3, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was the name written, Mystery Babylon, the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Okay, that scarlet-colored beast that she sits on, dealing with, you know, the EU, the rest of these, you know, nations. All right, and then, you know, again referencing, you know, the 10 horns. All right, those 7 heads being those 7 major Edomite empires. All right, and then, you know, decked. All right, decked with gold. All right, the lavish way, you know, which, you know, everybody wants to be after America, you know. Everybody looks at this place as just, you know, the greatest, the end all be all. Look at everything that comes with it, right? But then the golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness, all right? All of the idolatry, all of the sexual, you know, deviancy, you know, all of the you know, the backwards Mo lifestyle, all of it, man. All right, just sickening, man. Okay, then you got the, you know, what they do to the kids. all right, both in their new medicine and the pronoun and all that other stuff, and then the things that they do behind the scenes, all right. So ultimately, this place is wicked as hell, man. Okay, so it ain't no good for your country, man. All right, he says, especially in these very troubled and dangerous times. All right, and why? Because you jump down. All right, and it reads. All right, verse 15, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the horse sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall what? Hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, right? Because with him going after Greenland, all right, has nothing to do with Russia and China. All right, South America is the big issue with Russia and China. With Greenland, they need to take Greenland because he's about to isolate Europe. All right, he then pulled out, he recently pulled out of, what was it, 66, I believe. Trump pulls out of 66 treaties. All right, or 60 something treaties. Yep, it is. Here it is. Trump orders U.S. withdrawal from 66 international organizations. The French President Macron says what? The U.S. is gradually turning away from allies and breaking free of international rules. We'll see. Those international rules don't exist, okay? That's what you people have been bamboozled into thinking. The international rules only existed if America said they existed. All right, the directive instructs what? Agencies to stop participation and funding where possible, targeting what? 31 UN entities and 35 others seen as wasteful or anti-American, including the IPCC, UN Women, and Renewable Energy Agency. Remember, he was... not that long ago, all right, in the beginning stages, he was propping up all that woman nonsense. Now look, okay, Secretary Rubio labeled them redundant and sovereignty threats, while the White House highlighted billions saved from globalist agendas. See, supporters cheered the America First move, but critics like Michael McFaul warned it hands influence to China and isolates the U.S. from allies, all right, which ultimately, because again, they know. All right, Nero, who was President Trump, being led by the small hats, all right, which everyone knows who the small hats are, all right, they are greatly despised, man, all right. Anyway, all right, they know that they're about to push, they about to go for this push, man, to enter into that NWO, to enter into their golden age, all right. This isn't a golden age right now. Everybody can look around and see. So when he's been mentioning the beginning of the golden age, all right, he meant it literally, man. All right, I'm about to usher this in, all right, through force, by his sword, all right. So, hey, President Macron says, they're gradually turning away. We just read it, they shall hate the whore, all right. You got these, silly people saying, I voted for this, which they don't know what's going on, okay. Effective immediately, this guy, Treasury Secretary, he's about as silly as it gets. Effective immediately, the United States is withdrawing from the GCF. Our nation will no longer fund radical organizations like the GCF whose goals run contrary to the fact that affordable, reliable energy is fundamental to economic growth and poverty reduction. See, all talking pieces, man, because y'all don't care about poverty reduction, and there you have it, Here's another one from Rubio today. President Trump announced the U.S. is leaving 66 anti-American, useless or wasteful international organizations. Review of additional international organizations remains ongoing. Okay, so, they call it wasteful, ineffective, and harmful. All right, ultimately, because now, all right, they are trying to isolate. All right, they are trying to, again, push that NWO and usher in that CHIP. All right, and ultimately, you people are relying on America, man. All right, you haven't been for so long. Okay, let's grab that, because you were made rich by the abundance of her delicacies. Okay, let me see. I went right past it, Slovakia. All right, Revelation 18. And actually, we just start at the top, okay? And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. All right, and that is the future of America. All right, nuclear destruction. Okay, I made mention I can't. Many people didn't believe that the First World War would happen. And they had fear going into it about the Second World War, but they, I'm sure they believed that certain measures would be taken to prevent it. All right, as I'm sure people in all of their carelessness, especially this place, America, which is Babylon the Great, all right, they don't believe that World War III is going to happen. Okay, now it's been, the Spirit's been pushing it out there, news articles and all that. All right, because that's a warning. The elders and apostles, a great millstone on down. We've been sounding the alarm. All right, evil's in trouble. Even they saying it. Verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wrath of the Salakia. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. You see? And so ultimately, that's why, they're like, oh man, well, these are useless, wasteful, blah, blah, because they were made rich by it. All these other countries and organizations and agreements that they had, all right, within the United Nations and without. All right, you got all these silly ass people, this is what we voted for, blah, 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 blah. All right, but you people don't know what's going on, man. You people are fucking idiots. Part of my rude speech. Let's continue on. All right, it reads, this will allow us to build the dream military that we have long been entitled to. See, because they believe they're entitled to everything, man. All right, same with Edom from the beginning, over there weeping and crying. Does thou have a blessing for me? As if you ain't sell your birthright, man. All right, you chose to do so. All right, and really it's because your spirit was not right within you from the beginning. You abode not in the truth from the beginning. All right, it reads, this will allow us to build the dream military that we have long been entitled to, and more importantly, that will keep us safe and secure regardless of foe. You see that? All right, regardless of foe. All right, and ultimately, okay, because, the small hat still in that left-hand side and Trump being their main guy, all right, which they don't believe in the scriptures, all right, but ultimately, they've advised, all right, that ultimately certain men, say that this is going to happen and that's going to happen. All right. That's why he came up with the American Golden Dome or whatever it was, to try to stop and do they were already preparing for it, man. Okay. If it weren't for the tremendous numbers being produced by terrorists from other countries, many of which in the past have ripped off the U.S., blah, 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 blah. Here, let's just get the point. We are able to easily hit the $1.5 trillion number while at the same time producing an unparalleled military force and having the ability to at the same time pay down debt. All right. And then this is the new one. All right. So he increased the military budget a few days ago. All right. And then here, within the past 48 hours, I believe it was, he said, all United States defense contractors and the defense industry as a whole, beware. While we make the best military equipment in the world, defense contractors are currently issuing massive dividends to their shareholders and massive stock buybacks at the expense and detriment of investing in plants and equipment. This situation will no longer be allowed or tolerated. And you want to know why? The main reason right here. Military equipment is not being made fast enough. Okay, that's it. All right, he goes into executive pay packages, all right, salaries and stock options, all right, and basically saying that defense companies are not producing our great military equipment rapidly enough. Okay, and once produced, they're not maintaining it. All right, he also says that, they shouldn't receive, executives shouldn't receive more than $5 million. All right. And additionally, the maintenance and repair, once sold, is far too slow. See? So now he's pushing these demands. all right, because they're preparing, man. You don't increase, all right, your military budget to $1.5 trillion, man. You know, you don't add $500 billion into the budget, all right, unless you about to go to war, man. Okay, you are about to go to war, all right. But again, the point being down here, all right, basically you need to stop with all these dividends. You need to limit the salaries. You need to limit the stock options. You need to limit this, all right, or, you know, ultimately certain things aren't going to continue. All right. He says, therefore, I will not permit dividends or stock buybacks for defense companies until such time as these problems are rectified. Likewise for salaries and executive compensation, because military equipment is not being made fast enough. Okay. They always say the quiet part out loud, and that's the main thing that he capitalized, all right, in this entire message. That was the main point of it, man. All right, they need military equipment being made faster. All right, faster, man. All right, their adversaries have grown strong. Oh, let the weak say I'm strong. All right, hey, Iran and all their posturing. All right, hey, they're looking mighty, man. Okay, America can't do shit with these nations, man. All right, Joel 3:10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. All right, in Joel 3, it's beautiful because it's going into it, man. All right, the valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh. All right, the valley of the Lord's judgment. Okay, and ultimately, all right, this is what it is, man. Joel 3:9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. All right, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. All right, see, hey, beat your plowshares and the swords. No, you ain't just a regular tender of the field anymore. You know, you're not just a herdsman. Nah, everybody's getting ready. All right, and your pruning hooks and the spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. All right, so you have that going on. Okay, you know, you have basically an analysis of this. Trump is building a wartime command economy without declaring war. All right, because once he declares it, it's going to be some big issues, man. All right. The people are already in disheveled states. All right. You know, you have some people, as you saw in some of them comments, they're like, oh, this is what I voted for. No, they. All right. You people are stupid. All right. Which, you know, Americans are the dumbest people on the face of the earth. You know, their history is a lie. Their entire existence is a lie. You know, so nonetheless, then you have, you know, Iran, if what's being reported is true, and that's a big if, this pattern is an indicator of a preemptive posture, not a defensive one. See? So Iran is already preemptively preparing, all right, for this war. All right, securing cleared launch corridors, moving its strike assets towards its borders rather than its cities. It's hardening its bases with active and passive radar, and combining the military and political statements that have come out in Iran indicate that they may be preparing for something preemptive rather than defensive. All right, because Iran already said, listen, if America strikes us, we will strike back in kind. All right, and now they see certain things that's happening with the Venezuela thing. They know, all right, we made mention of it, you know, a few months back. You know, once Trump is able to get that oil for Venezuela, he can go ahead and strike Iran and mess up, you know, the oil in that region, because it no longer affects America. You know, it don't affect America. They don't care. You know, they only care about themselves, man. Okay. And then, of course, I got this in the chat GPT. Okay. Because I wanted to compare how big and diverse in weather is Iran compared to Afghanistan. Iran is much larger than Afghanistan and has broader and more extreme weather diversity. You see? So it's almost 3 times bigger. All right. As you see, 1.65 million compared to 600,000. All right, so about, it says 2.5 times larger, right? Exactly. You know, almost 3 times, not exactly. All right, has deserts, high mountain ranges, long coastlines, forests. All right, whereas Afghanistan really just has those rugged mountains. All right, high plateaus and arid basins. All right, Iran has extremely diverse weather, from deserts among the hottest places on earth to salt deserts and extreme heat and cold. They have cold alpine regions, cold mountains with heavy snowfall, ski resorts near Tehran. All right, then by the Caspian Sea, they also have subtropical climates, you know. Mediterranean climate in the western regions, fertile land, right? The southern coast along the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, hot and humid. See, you can experience snow, rainforest, and extreme desert heat in Iran within the same month. All right, and it goes into Afghanistan. It's harsh but less varied, nowhere near. All right, and the point is, all right, Iran having that larger landmass, more climate zones, greater temperature, etc. All right, it is much harsher militarily, you see. So I put militarily, if U.S. soldiers struggled in Afghanistan, what would their success be like in Iran? The short answer is a U.S. ground war in Iran would be far harder than Afghanistan and far less likely to succeed, especially if success means occupation or regime change. And that's exactly what they're going for, man. And it's not going to happen. All right. It is not going to happen. Afghanistan, why the U.S. struggled? Fragmented society, weak central state, insurgency-based warfare. All right, the Taliban, who they created. Rural terrain, favored guerrilla tactics. The U.S. won militarily, but lost politically and strategically, which they didn't win. All right, they ended up fleeing. They ended up giving it over. They didn't win anything. Okay. And despite all this, Afghanistan had no advanced air defenses, no navy, no major missile force, minimal industrial base, little regional power projection, and still the war dragged on for 20 years. All right, this one won't drag on for 20 years, man. All right, the third woe, all right, will lead to the thermonuclear destruction of America. All right, Iran combines every difficult battlefield at once. All right, the vast size, multiple mountain ranges, deserts, urban cities, long borders with unstable regions. You can't control Iran without massive troop numbers, far more than Afghanistan and Iraq combined. You see, their population is 90 million, so double that of Afghanistan. Has a strong national identity. Even Iranians opposed to the government tend to rally against foreign invasion. See? And unlike Afghanistan, the big difference is Iran is not a guerrilla-only opponent. It has a large standing military and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. They have ballistic and cruise missiles, integrated air defenses, naval asymmetric warfare in the Persian Gulf. They have cyber and electronic warfare. They have proxy forces all across the Middle East. Any war with Iran would be regional, not contained. All right, and that's what it's about to be, bro. All right, this devil, Lord, hey, I don't want to write a he's about to usher this thing in, man. I believe they about to strike within the next few weeks, man. All right, or, because people are a bit riled up with this Minneapolis thing. They're still a little bit riled up with Venezuela. It's a chance that they delay it a little bit. All right, but we know it's inevitable, man. Okay. How would the U.S. do militarily? The U.S. would likely dominate the air and sea initially, but not without losses. Oil shipping, Gulf bases, Israel, Saudi Arabia will be under attack. So tactical success, sure, but strategic containment, impossible. A ground invasion, if attempted, this is where Afghanistan comparison collapses. The problems are urban warfare in cities like Tehran, Isfahan, and Shiraz, millions of potential fighters, long supply lines, no friendly rear area, constant missile and drone and insurgent attacks. Casualties and costs would dwarf Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay? And occupation and regime changes is almost certainly unwinnable. There's no credible alternative government, no ethnic fragmentation to exploit. Because, these devils are always exploiting, man. Occupation force would need hundreds of thousands to over 1 million troops. All right, regional war will intensify and not calm. All right, that's gonna bring everybody else in, man. All right, the strategic verdict is that airstrikes only would cause temporary degradation. All right, naval conflict would cause severe global economic shock. A ground invasion would be prolonged, costly, occupation near certain failure. If the U.S. struggled in Afghanistan, Iran would be dramatically harder. Military victory would not equal political success. The cost would be higher casualties, regional destabilization, long-term strategic loss. That's why even U.S. military planners view war with Iran as something to avoid unless absolutely unavoidable. All right, but ultimately, remember the ChatGPT, their last update was in 2023. So it's not even updated with all of the recent events going on. All right. So there you have it, man. All right. Then we go straight to Ezekiel. All right. Because ultimately, the 10 horns, hating the whore. All right, with the with the leathers that they're already sending, basically saying that if you invade Greenland, then we're gonna act in kind. All right, and again, Trump needs Greenland, man. All right, because it needs to be strategically used against Europe, because he knows, all right, that ultimately the decisions that he's gonna make, he needs that landmass, all right, to basically be like a preemptive defensive placeholder, all right, before anyone touches America, Babylon the Great, all right, but it don't matter, bro, all right, it doesn't matter, bro. This place is going to be pierced, all right. Ezekiel chapter 38:1, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog in the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say that's this is dealing with Russia, all right, because he's going to be a defense to these other nations, all right, Iran, Turkey, all right, those countries in Africa who have nuclear capabilities, right? Continuing on verse 4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even with a great company, with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomorrah and all his bands, the house of Togomar of the north quarters, and all his people, and many people with thee. And ultimately, these European nations, they're going to side with Russia. All right, Ezekiel 38:7, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Exactly, man. That's why you have, ultimately, let me see if I saved it here. All right, dealing with Russia, okay? Because it reads, let's cut through the nonsense. Putin was told to stay put and wait for a phone call, but the Russians didn't play along. Putin moved locations to see what would happen, and almost immediately drones showed up, and that's when they hit his they sent them 90 something drones. I did a lesson on last week. All right, they sent them drones over there. All right, they basically hit where he stays, but where he stays is also where he commands out of for nuclear preparations. See, so you basically hit the the nuclear, what I mean, like the nuclear home base. All right. The idea that Ukrainian drones are flying blind without CIA intelligence is an insult to anyone. The implication of this couldn't be clearer. This was a failed decapitation attempt targeting the Russian president himself. And once that plan collapsed, denial became the only option left for Washington. And then there's the deafening silence from Western mainstream media. No clear disclosure of the actual target, no serious questions, just carefully curated vagueness. All right, we'll just jump down. All right, we know they're just mouthpieces of the CIA. Taken together, this entire Ukraine did not target Putin's home storyline isn't merely unbelievable. It's a transparently cynical cover narrative held together by media compliance and the assumption that the public won't question what's right in front of them. Exactly. All right, because why would the CIA open their fucking mouth? These CIA guys are idiots, which again, they don't work for the U.S., man. All right, they work for those bankers. Okay, there's plenty of documentaries going into, the bankers and secret, relationships with CIA, MI6, all of that, man. All right, it's all about what the elite banking families want, man. Okay, so, oh yeah, CIA finds that Ukraine did not target Putin's home. Okay, all right. They expose their hand. They can't keep their mouth shut, man. All right, you got a bunch of prideful, flesh-eating, baby-ravaging demons in them organizations, man. Okay? And ultimately, they're not going to be satisfied until they get Russia. All right? That's the whole point, man. Okay? But again, prophecy says otherwise, man. All right? And then we have articles from 2024. All right? The spy war, how the CIA secretly helped Ukraine fight Putin. Exactly, man. All right? But guess what, bro? The Lord has other things in mind, man. All right, you people are going to be destroyed. All right, that's just the reality of it. All right, you people are going to be destroyed, man. Okay. Set thine arrows, all right, against her. Let's go to Jeremiah. Okay. Around about forgive me. Line. Arrows. Round. These iOS keyboards, man, I'm telling you, sometimes they just be doing their own goddamn thing. All right. Jeremiah 50. And man, this is just beautiful. All right. Hey, we really just got to get all this. Jeremiah 50:1, the word that the Lord, power Yahweh Shem Shai, speak against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. All right, which one, we understand this wasn't ancient Babylon. All right, you have, talking pieces who claim to be biblical experts and theologians and historians. All right, but nonetheless, all right, in like manner, they'll say, oh, well, Mystery Babylon, it could be a future empire. All right, but then turn around and suggest that there's not going to be a greater empire than America. So which one is it? You can't have both. There's got to be one or the other. The argument then falls apart. So we know that ultimately the region where ancient Babylon or Neo-Babylonia dwelt, all right, was never fully destroyed. All right, people still dwell there. All right, that won't be the case here. Okay, because ultimately, all right, in this place's destruction. All right, it literally prophesies, all right, that you won't dwell here no more, man, in Isaiah, okay? It won't be inhabited anymore, man, all right? Isaiah chapter 13, all right, and starting at verse 13, therefore will I shake the heavens and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts and in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as a chased roe and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people and flee everyone into his own land. And you had that, remember a few years back, they were talking about the mass exodus from New York and Los Angeles. And they were already getting them calls, man, all right, from their kin. Hey, it's time, man, because we're preparing. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through. And everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. See, because America is destined to be destroyed, man. All right, let's grab that. Happy shall he be in the book of Psalms 1. Yeah, where's the KJV? Here we go. Psalms 137:7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. See, that's another thing. All right, why is it referencing the children of Edom with what? The daughter of Babylon. See, Psalms 137:8. All right, because Edomites had nothing to do with Babylon. All right, so that further substantiates it there. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. You see, happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. All right, hey, so thanks be unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai for that, man. All right, and they always got the nerve to try to indict somebody and call somebody a dictator and everything else, man. Hey, you devils. All right, you devils have a beautiful judgment awaiting for you, man. Isaiah 13:16, their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. All hell's about to break loose, man. All right. They about to send, millions of your sons and daughters across the world to fight for them. The economy here this shit's about to tank so crazy. All right, you already have certain things going on with the silver, man. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. All right, which again, we just made mention of Russia. All right, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms. See, ancient Babylon wasn't the glory of kingdoms, man. All right, hey, same way. When you get into Mystery Babylon, all right, and you get into the ancient city of Tyre, all right, America and those parallels, America is the modern version of ancient Tyre, all right, America is the modern version of that great city, Nineveh, You see, America is Babylon, the glory of kingdoms. All right, the daughter of Babylon. All right, you know, the linear and grown version of it, basically the child of it, but the greater form, if you will. You know, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when Yahweh Bashem Yahushai overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited. See? So we know this wasn't ancient Babylon, man. All right. You can't tie it to any other ancient place in the world. All right. Because there's still people who live there. Okay. It shall never be inhabited. Neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there. Neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. But this is the point. All right. America was, like I made mention, all right, an ultimate war general. All right. This is how badass the Lord is, man. All right. Let me grab this. Isaiah 47:4. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel, the Lord of armies. All right. And ultimately, you know, the Lord being the greatest, all right, commander, all right, the ultimate war connoisseur, general, whatever term you want to use, man. All right. Ultimately, all right, the Lord, you know, making war with you. All right, forever. All right, having that hatred towards you. All right, he allowed you to be built all the way up, man. All right, built all the way up in such a capacity that you believe you're unpenetrable. All right, just so that way he can destroy you, man. All right, it goes into in the Apocrypha as well. You know, many kings have I destroyed for their sakes. All right, but this one, all right, America, Babylon the Great, man, is even greater than that. Okay, back in Jeremiah 50:3, for out of the north, Russia, there cometh a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. See, none shall dwell therein. Same sentiment. They shall remove, and they shall depart, both man and beast. In those days and in that time, saith the Lord, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping. They shall go and seek the Lord their power. They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, come and let us join ourselves to the Lord in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. Why? Because we've been a lost sheep, man. My people have been a lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray, and they have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. All right. And we are yet this day in our captivity. You know, all that found them have devoured them. And their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against the Lord, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, the habitation of justice, even the Lord, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem HaKodash, the hope of their fathers. Remove out of the midst of Babylon, not literally flee, all right, but get out of the mindset of this place, man. Repent, okay? You have to repent, man. You either stop going along, stop going along with the get along in this place, man. It's wicked as hell. All right, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flocks. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her, and thence, what? She shall be taken. Their arrow shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Okay, none of them. And Chaldea shall be what? A spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith the Lord. You see? This place is through, man. All right, this place is through. Okay, and you're already admitting that your military equipment is not being made fast enough. You're at the place where you're trying to play catch up. It's over for you, man. All right, it's over for you. All right, thanks be unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem HaKodash for that, because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine inheritance. Who's that? Esau, Edom. All right, Esau, Edom, man. All right, there's no other nation on the face of the earth or in biblical history and record. All right, in the manner of which we were treated. All right, no one can exceed. All right, the level of destruction. all right, sabotage, lies, rape, robbery, murder, all right. No one can exceed, all right, what Edom has done unto us, man. All right, not the Assyrians, not the Babylonians, not the ancient Egyptians, all right, none of them, man. Okay, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass and bellow as bulls, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of all of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a sea. And all of it, man. All right, all of it shall be a wilderness, man. Because of the wrath of the Lord, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be what? Wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at her plagues. All right. And as we're seeing today, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she has sinned against the Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai. All right. And ultimately, like I said, that's what we're seeing today, in the sense that these nations are preparing. All right. They're over here taking empty, they just took 2 Russian oil tankers. But if you saw the bottom of the ship, you saw how there was, the top part was like black, but the bottom part was like, you could actually see the ship. That's because it was empty. Normally, when those oil tankers are full, that separation of the color is because they sit low. All right, you normally don't see the bottom of the whole hull. The hull. I think that's the word. The hull of the ship. All right. Let me see if I can. The hull is the main body or watertight shell of a ship, right? Forming its bottom. See the whole bottom, right? So then when you go to Russian tanker seized, all right, when you go to the image of it, all right, you see how you can see the whole bottom of that? All right, it's empty. Okay, if that thing was full, that whole ship would be up to the blue line, and you wouldn't see all of that, rusted, blah, 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 and then, these military experts and these analysts of intelligence, they're such fucking morons. They're like, oh, well, why did they change their flag? Why did they have the Russian so-and-so following them? One, to see your response. All right, Russia already did it. You people are so fucking dumb, man. You people are prideful, arrogant, and just stupid. All right, Putin was told to stay put. They were just negotiating a week and a half ago, remember? All right, but he didn't do it. He went to his nuclear home base, and what y'all do almost immediately, y'all sent the drones. See? So then it's like, all right, we know y'all about to do certain things, with the Venezuela thing. So we'll go ahead and change flags. We'll go ahead and hit y'all with sleight of hand, and we'll get out of there. And look, y'all seized it. See? So now they're using these, all right, these tactical military, what's the word I'm looking for? Like basically they're they're creating, these little scenarios to see how you're gonna respond. That's all they doing. They don't really matter. You think that's the only tanker they got? All right, nah. And it's empty. Again, you wouldn't see the bottom of this, when those when those tankers got oil in it, that's heavy. You're dealing with tons and tons of liquid, bro. It's heavy. That's why these ships are so big, because then once you fill it in, they drop low, and you don't see all of the rust in the bottom of the hull, the hull, or HULL. I can't pronounce that stupid word, hull. You would only see the blue, or that top portion. All right, so. Again, they're strategically, they're like, all right, well, let's see what you do now. Cool. You struck Putin's nuclear residence. You're out here taking empty, tanker ships just in the name of, the rule of, now you're talking about Western Hemisphere. This is ours. Hey, well, the thing is, all right, what's yours is going to be destroyed, man. All right. So, yeah, that's the point, man. These people are about to have a hard time, man. All right. Again, even with the new, doctrine, all right, the Don Road doctrine, all right, pushing forth, okay. Trump's Don Road doctrine sets U.S. on great power collision course. See, President Trump is moving to eject America's adversaries from the Western Hemisphere, seizing on the momentum of extraordinary show of force in Venezuela. All right. He's leaning into 19th century policy. All right, announcing plans for the U.S. to run Venezuela. The bigger picture, while his predecessors sought to distance themselves from the Monroe Doctrine that the U.S. established to combat European interference in the Americas, Trump's eagerness for the 21st century version of the policy underscores his wider goal to restore American preeminence in the Western Hemisphere. Again, isolating Europe, letting them know, listen, all right, you serve us, all right, we don't serve you, okay? So there you have it, man. All right, thanks be unto Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, man. That's the point of the lesson, you know. It's a little longer than anticipated, but, bro, it's so beautiful, bro. It's beautiful. It's so much going on, bro. World War, you know, the wars that will be here, the civil, all the chaos, all right, the martial law, the micro C-hips, everything, bro. It's right here. It's about to happen, man. All right? Hey, and then they about to strike Iran. And then they about to start sending these people sons and daughters. People going to be, man, it's over. It's over. So, Lord's will, you'll edify until next time.